Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Dan podcast. I have a special guest here with me today. Introduce yourself.
My name's Curt Miller. I'm the assistant principal and athletic director at Oconee County High School in Watkinsville, Georgia.
Okay, Mr. Curt Miller. So now you're on the Sports Dan podcast. I have to ask you this question: what podcast do you love listening to so far?
Some of my colleagues in Cobb County created a Hanging with the AD podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to, get to hear perspectives from various high school ADs across the state, across the country. And they also dive into, ADs at the collegiate level. So it's interesting to hear, what those athletic directors have to say.
Have you made an appearance on there?
I was on there. Yes. I was on there, I think, just as a general AD. And I think when we went through reclassification with GHSA, I think those guys asked me to come back.
Oh, so another appearance.
That's right.
Okay. For inspiration throughout the whole school year, 'cause I know the school year is very long. You get tired some days. So what motivational speakers do you like listening to get yourself going?
Yeah, I might be a little different in this area. I'm a big person of reflection on how the day went or how an event went. Back when I was working in Henry County, I had about a 25-minute ride home every day and a ride to school that long. So it gave me time to reflect on, what I'd done. If I thought that maybe I could have done something a little bit better, or, if I went back when I was coaching, it gave me time to reflect on how that game went and maybe some decisions I made, or maybe some relationship pieces with some of the players or parents. And I always try to just sit back and just have a few minutes alone to do that.
Okay. So now you're at this assistant principal and AD for Oconee County High School. Talk to me about your role becoming an AD/assistant principal.
So, when I was in Henry County, I left Ola High School and became the district athletic director. So, I was in the district office, I think, for 4 or 5 years, and I really missed the connection with the students and the student athletes. And so, the move here, my first year here was, it was coming off of COVID where we had masks and all that. And it was, it was fun, but it wasn't fun as this past year has been fun.
Right.
I knew that there was an opportunity for me to kind of immerse myself with our athletic teams and with our students. And, just having the assistant principal role and the athletic director role just gives me an opportunity to mix and mingle with our faculty, with our coaches, with our students. And I've really enjoyed it. We've got a very strong administrative team here with our principal, Dr. Yancey, and 2 other assistant principals. And, I think you've got to have a very strong team there. And then, we want that to reflect with everybody else here at Oconee and try to have those same relationships.
Okay, so you talked about coaching earlier and wanting to build those connections with players. So now as an AD, what do you look for in a coach when you start the hiring process?
Right. So, some coaches think that they have to be the loudest person in the gym or the most active and all that. And really, we just want a coach that, number one, understands the game, is going to treat our kiddos right, is going to make sure they make great relationships in the community, and that somebody that we're just proud, to have the OC on and lead one of our programs. Necessarily the loudest coach all the time is not the best coach, because if sometimes we're getting too involved in a bad referee call, or, we're getting too emotional, I think sometimes we forget that we've got to still make decisions there in the game. And I think if you're high at those levels, sometimes you can't do that. So we just try to find the right fit for Oconee.
Okay. So what type of coach were you?
That's a great question. I'll be honest. Probably my first 6 years, I was a guy that I probably wouldn't hire, just to be completely honest with you. I was really emotional, and sometimes I'd get so frustrated with something I couldn't get back to focus on what we needed to focus on. And my last few years at Ola, I'd like to consider that's how I wish I could have coached like that my entire career. But the good news is the kids that I coached those first 6 or so, I actually spoke to a bunch of them about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they all still talk to each other. And, we still had a great relationship and still do. So, I said, man, I wish I could have been a little bit more calm. And they're like, no, coach, we needed it. We needed it. So, I think there's a fine line there, but, these days you just can't be that person that's on the sideline or wherever, just ranting and raving the whole time. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I've seen it a couple times. I just wish dang, I wish that coach just relax and just let the game be. But I understand it comes from within though. It comes from the passion from the game.
Right.
All right. So with the assistant principal, athletic director, and going back to Henry County, you was over all high schools with the athletic directors. How do you balance your hectic work life with your family?
That's a great question as well. It's tough. I grew up in this lifestyle with my dad. He coached and was AD for 44 years. So I knew what I was getting into. And I think early on when my wife, she played volleyball at Georgia Southern. So she was an athletic minded person. And I think her talking to my mom as we started progressing through, early on while we were getting married, I think she's kind of understands it. But both of our daughters are in athletics. And one of them is here with me at school. She'll be a sophomore on the volleyball team. And so, living 4 miles from the school is a lot better than living 25 miles from the school. So they come up, or I go, I run home real fast or whatever, but it is, I'm looking forward to the next 3 weeks. We're going to get some time together. And so that'll be good for us.
So now your dad was an AD and a coach for 44 years. Do you see yourself when your dad was an AD and to your time now, do you see yourself acting the same way he did during his time as AD and coach?
Yeah, people who know my dad are probably laughing just like I am. Man, early on, I was pretty animated, and Dad was pretty animated himself. But he stuck with the coaching piece for his career, and I've kind of taken that other road and tried to go into the athletic administration side. So, I've been able to learn under a lot of good people. Our administrative team here, our principal, Dr. Yancey, handles things in a way that I really hadn't been around. And I think that's really beneficial for our students. And so, I think everybody you're under their leadership, I think you should be able to try to take pieces of that if you think they're an effective leader. And that's what I've always tried to do.
Okay. The $1 million question is, would you hire your dad as a coach in his prime?
There's no doubt. 100%. 100%. He knew that guy. He has forgotten more basketball than I ever knew. But I'll give you a perfect story. We were at Walnut Grove the year after we went to state at Ola, and we were playing, I won't mention the team, but we were playing a team. And so we decided to go triangle and 2. Well, when we went triangle and 2, they were killing us at the elbows. So we flipped the triangle and put the bottom of the triangle at the elbows and the bottom guy by himself. And that team couldn't figure it out. They could not figure it out. And they were head and shoulders better than us that year. But they ended up pulling their two guys out that were doing all the scoring. So now we're just playing a regular zone because the guys who were killing us are gone. But it was his idea to do that. And so, I never would have thought to do that. But you had to match up. They were matching up where our weaknesses were. And so we matched with them. And then they, at that point, they kind of just gave up. And then that's what won us the game. So without that, we wouldn't have been close or even won it.
Yeah, that a coach that can make great in-game adjustments. That's why I'm
absolutely
here. Okay, so now we're going to get to the game of this or that. I'm going to say one item or another, and you choose between both. All right.
All right.
So the first question, brisket or ribs?
Ribs.
Pound cake or red velvet cake?
Oof, red velvet.
Okay. Would you rather cut the grass or fold clothes?
Cut the grass.
Do you wet your toothbrush before or after applying toothpaste?
Both.
Smart man. Smart man. Would you rather go to the beach or would you rather go to the lake?
Ooh, I lived on the lake for my whole life. I'm going to say the beach because I just go once a year.
Would you rather own a car or would you rather own a truck?
Truck.
Are you an early bird or are you a night owl?
Night owl.
Would you rather live in the country or would you rather live in the city?
Country.
Would you rather own land or own a hotel?
Land, because there's not a lot of people that's gonna come mess up my land like they would a hotel.
Okay. Would you rather practice with a girls' basketball team or practice with a football team?
I'm gonna say the basketball team just because I can shoot and I can't run up down the floor anymore, but just because I can shoot.
Okay. So between both daughters, if you had to choose them to play 2-on-2 against your wife and the other daughter, which daughter would you choose?
In basketball?
So let's just say a field day. You know how field day you have all these events?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the youngest is going into 7th grade, and my oldest is going to be a 10th grader, and she's 6 foot. So there's a little bit of a difference there between them. But depending on the races, I mean, if it's speed races, I'm gonna take Ava. If it's like throwing and shooting, I'm gonna take Olivia. So I'm not gonna get myself in trouble at home on this question.
Okay. So would you rather have Thanksgiving or would you have a 4th of July barbecue?
4th of July barbecue.
So you're a man of barbecue.
I am.
Okay.
I put some ribs on my Twitter.
Oh yeah, I've seen your Twitter. Your Twitter. I've seen your pellet on the grill. I cannot lie. I do get hungry sometimes looking at it. I do get hungry. Okay, so now what are some of the best coaches you have seen as an AD that you said, man, that was a good hire by me?
Are you talking about people that we had or just people I saw that anywhere?
Anywhere.
Yeah, there's man, Georgia's full of just tremendous coaches. When I was in 8th grade, my dad introduced me to a man named Gene Durden, who's the girls basketball coach at Buford.
Oh,
and
man.
At the time, he was at Northwest Georgia High School, and they were playing at Henry County High School in the AA or single, I can't remember, state tournament. And so Dad checked me out of school, and we watched them practice in our gym, and it was the most intense practice I've ever seen in my life. And you know that I mean, Gene's coach has done a heck of a job his whole career. And but you know, I grew up a gym rat. I grew up thinking, you know, most people have Superman and He-Man and all that as their heroes. Man, I was basketball coaches were my heroes because I always wanted to be one. Like when I saw a coach, I was like, oh my God, that's Mark Andrews from Stockbridge, man. I love that guy. And you know, I'm still kind of the same way. So I mean, I appreciate good coaching, and I know when I see it, you know, I know it. But yeah, I mean, there's so many that I could pick.
Well, give me a list of your favorite 5. Your favorite 5.
Woo, coaches?
Favorite 5 coaches.
Man, I don't know. I didn't I wasn't prepared for that one. Oh my goodness. Can we come back to that one and go to the next one?
All right, yeah, of course. Well, what are some of the best teams that you've witnessed during your stint at each job?
So I will go with some of my Henry County teams that we had. My very first job was at Henry Middle, and in 2003, we had I was a 7th grade football coach, but our 8th grade football team was probably one of the best group of 8th grade athletes I'd ever seen in my life. And Bruce Towson and Hugh Barbie led that group, and I think they went undefeated and won whatever the little middle school league was that year. But it was just pretty impressive, me coming into my career to see that many talented athletes. Trying to think, when I was at Dutchtown, we started when we opened that school, we were 9th and 10th graders, and so we were put into a full region. So in that region was Griffin, and Griffin was coached under Ferris Qualls, who was a great family friend of ours. He was at Henry County with my dad. And but they were number 1 in the state. Mays was number 2, and they had Jay Brown. And so that team was very, very, very good at Griffin. When that same year in football at Dutchtown, we had to go play Tryon. It was a pickup game, and we had to drive all the way to Tryon. And at that point in my career, I'd never seen a football team that fundamental that would hit you. But then after the game, they were so nice. They fed us burgers and hot dogs, and they put us back on the bus and sent us home. But that Tryon football team was very good. When when I was the athletic director at Ola, Camden County was in 6A, but they were isolated with wrestling. So they played down in the 5A. Well, Ola, Coach Danino and Ola had a very good team. And, but Camden ended up winning the state championship that year, but they won a lot of those, but they were very talented that year. And then my last year coaching basketball, Coach Isley at McIntosh, their boys basketball team. It was either 14 or 15, I can't remember, but they were very good. They were very good at home. So, but those are some of the better teams that I've had to coach against or just see in person.
Okay, so now for your top 5 athletes at your schools, Henry County, Dutchtown, or being the AD at Oconee or being the AD at Henry County, what are some of the top athletes that you saw and say?
All right, so I got a handful. I got a little bit more than 5, but I'm gonna try to be quick. All right, my very first year teaching as an 8th grader, we had Jason Hayward. He went through Henry County, so I got to see him as an 8th grader. But obviously, he went on to Henry County. They won the state championship his freshman year, and so he was very talented. Jake Johnson here at Oconee, wide receiver that signed with Texas A&M. His brother Max was here the year before, and he's also at Texas A&M. We've got 2 linebacker brothers, Witt and Wes Weeks. Wes is now at LSU, and Witt has got a Power 5 offer just about by everybody. So it's going to be fun watching him this year. Chris Rodriguez, the running back at Kentucky, was at Ola when I was in Henry County, and Coach Zito and Chris, he ran for a lot. I had a basketball player, Troy Swanson at Ola, that was a super talented athlete, very talented basketball player, led us to state, and so he's on my list. Will Anderson at Alabama. He was at Dutchtown when I was at the county office, so I got to watch him play. Super talented kid. Marquez Ezard. He was at Stockbridge, maybe my first or second year as the county athletic director, I think, but they played at Rome, and I think he had 200-something yards receiving against them and kind of put his name on the map. And I think he went to Miami and then transferred to Georgia Tech, maybe. We had Dalvin Tomlinson. He's the defensive lineman from Alabama. I think he's with the Vikings now, but he was at Henry County, and he was also a heavyweight wrestler and won a state championship or multiple there. 2 girls that just come to mind are Taylor Anderson. She was at Ola. She was a softball, basketball player for us. She ended up going on to Georgia State in softball. Super talented kid. And then here, this past year, we had a girl named Grace Winrich. And I don't know if I've ever seen a girl become a floor leader and a captain like she did this year. And our volleyball team went to the Final Four, and she single-handedly was just the leader on the floor. And she's going to James Madison this coming year, so we're going to miss her. But that's kind of a rundown of some good athletes that I've been fortunate enough to see.
Okay, so now you talk about being on a board of all GHSA, doing all these things, doing a plethora of things throughout Georgia. What are some famous people that you've met throughout your career?
Right. So I told you I thought every head coach was a famous person to me when I was growing up. Quick story: my dad was heavy in the GACA, and they used to have the basketball clinic at Lovett. And this was when I was a little bitty boy. But Dad picked up Dean Smith at the airport, and so when we're there, they're having to speak, and he's drawing on the overhead. Well, they only had like 4 overhead sheets, and so Coach Smith asked if there was anybody that'd like to come down front and clean the sheets off. And so my dad raised his hand and said, "My son will come do it." So I was a foot away from Coach Smith cleaning off transparencies and giving them right back to him. So at that moment, that's when I became a Tar Heel fan, and I've been a Tar Heel fan ever since then. So obviously met Kirby Smart a couple times. I was able to meet Hines Ward at the Positive Athlete Awards, and he's super nice. Met Franco Harris at a national AD conference. We were getting ready to get on the elevator, and looked at my wife and I said, "I think that's Franco Harris." And she said, "Who?" I said, "Franco Harris, paid for the Steelers." And anyway, I took a picture with him, and that was pretty awesome. And then my dad received a national award from the Naismith Awards for basketball. And I met LeBron James when he was coming out of high school. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
MJ's still better, but I did meet LeBron.
We're not going to get in that discussion. We'll be here all day.
6-0.
It doesn't matter. Record doesn't matter. Look at the teammates compared to his. So now so this year, being at Oconee and everything, you had a plethora of region championships, state championship appearances. Which journey throughout all of them made you say like, wow, like this school is really it?
I'm gonna be honest. I really think it's the drive that our student athletes have. I put a graphic out. We had 387 AP classes were taken by our student athletes. I think our team GPA average was 3.6. So their commitment to the classroom and their commitment to the athletic arena is really, it's unbelievable. The way our coaches, how invested they are as teachers and as coaches, and then all the work they put in. And, when they're coaching them up, they're not just giving them a word or two and letting them go for the day. I mean, they're out there, I can think of Coach Forrester right now talking about some stuff with hurdles or whatever it is in track. And he's also our cross country coach. And, just how detailed and fine tuned our coaches coach. I was at football this past week, and after every play, every coach is coaching up somebody. And, I think that's what is amazing and just fun to watch is just the commitment to detail by our coaches and our student athletes.
Okay, so now I see you're very social media heavy. You always post videos of your athletes, always practicing with your athletes, posting what you cooking, posting everything. So now, what practice experience that you had throughout this past year was probably the funnest, and the other question is, what practice experience surprised you the most that you really enjoyed?
I'm gonna say the competition cheerleading one. When I did the toe touch, I actually surprised myself a little bit. Number one, that I was able to do that. Number two, I didn't get hurt. That was kind of a win-win. The football one was fun, but you don't realize how tight those uniforms are till you try to put them on. I think it took me 15 minutes to get dressed and undressed. Wrestling was fun. That was a good one. The band one was awesome. If you've seen the band one, and then most recently the baseball one was a pretty good one. So okay, there'll be more of that to come this coming year.
Ooh, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see. Yep. You're a man of your people. I say that. You're a man of your people. So now, there's one thing I saw on Twitter. You went to national championship game for Georgia and Alabama. Talk to me about that experience for you.
It was awesome. We, just being number one, that place is cold. Like Georgia's cold. Indianapolis is like cold. But, just the enthusiasm of Georgia fans. It's been 40, 41 years or whatever it was. And it's just for that many people to still that's their team. I think the Coach Smart, obviously he's done a lot over there to, build up the facilities and recruiting and all that, but just to be there that night. And, there's grown men crying. It meant that much to people. And, it was so cool to be there in person. I was there in, was it 16 when we got beat? And it was terrible, but I'd go through that again to go through what we went through that night on January the 10th.
January 10th is something you'll never forget.
That's right.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to your favorite coaches that you ever talked to, that you ever had a chance to meet with and talk to. So give me your favorite coaches.
Yeah, well, obviously it's gonna have to be Dad. I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot under my dad. And it's funny that people told me when I was running the flex that I had to get away from that, because you got to make them run their own, you got to be able to let the players play. Well, you can do that out of that. But the year we went to state, they couldn't stop the flex. And that's that, so there's a time and a place for everything. And, he always told me, he said, you got to run what you're comfortable with and what your players can do. Don't try to run something that they can't do. I'm gonna kind of stick local with this. Mark Andrews, that was the legendary basketball coach at Stockbridge. He passed away this past year. but he always did a lot of great things, and we had a healthy rivalry with him and Dad. And then, I got to know him as I was coming up through the ranks in Henry County as a coach, and always kind of leaned on him, to do things. Jared Zito, we hired him at Ola, and he did a tremendous job at Ola. And then he goes down to Southeast Bullock. He's in your neck of the woods now. As he just finished his first year, and they had their first home playoff win this past year since I think like 73, if I'm not mistaken. So he's done a really good job, did a really good job for Ola, and did a really good job at Southeast Bullock. Just trying to go through some stuff in my head. Golly. Caught me off guard with this question. I'm just trying to think. Man, there's a lot of coaches, man. I don't want to start singling people out that start leaving people out and get in trouble. But, we got a lot of awesome coaches here at Oconee. It's, I definitely can't start singling them out or I'll really get in trouble. But, all of our coaches are just so committed to their kids and to their parents and to, and just to the team. And it's just so fun to work here with them and just try to help them out however we can.
Yeah, that's a great list. So now your dad was known for throughout sports in Georgia. When you were coming up in your career, like were you the one always asking him questions, like asking him how could you be better in your neck of the woods with the coaching or with the athletic director, or were you ones like, nah, Dad, I got it, I want to make my own path with this?
Yeah, so I did ask questions, and there were times that when I first started, I just kind of wanted to do exactly what he did. But then you kind of get to a point to where, you got to put your own stamp on it. And so the third year at Dutchtown, we've got, golly, man, we've probably got 10, 11 guys that opened the program with us as 9th and 10th graders. Well, now they're seniors and juniors, but we've also had 7 move-ins. So I'm not going to cut the guys who started the program with us. I'm not doing it. I mean, they were the foundation. So I had 18 guys on my varsity 04, 05, or excuse me, 06, 07. That third year we had that many guys. And so I switched everything we did. We ran it. We were running and gunning every 4 minutes, every 3 minutes. We were subbing 5 and we were just pressing. And, I don't think I did a very good job handling that going into the second half of the year. We were 13-1 at Christmas, and it just kind of fell apart on the backside. But I think Dad was looking at me like, "What in the world are you doing, man? You need to walk the ball to the floor and run the flex." But it was fun. I mean, I learned a lot that year. But yeah, he would also offer some advice up, but it was always good and in my best interest. So.
Okay. So if your best team versus your dad's best team, which team with both the guys on each other's opposite sides, which team you think will win?
Yeah, he had some teams at Monticello in the early 70s that played for a state championship. Those guys, some of them went to Tech. Lamar Hurd, interesting fact about Dad, I think he's the only high school coach in the country that's had a player go to a Power 5 school and both of them, male and female player, make it to the Final Four the same year. Lamar Hurd was Dominique's roommate at Georgia, and Lisa O'Connor came to Georgia and played for Andy Landers, and both of those teams went to the Final Four that same year. So he coached boys and girls together for 22 years. So anyway, yeah, there's no doubt he had some good teams.
Okay, so who do you think will drew up the better X and O's between you guys?
He probably would. I'll give him the nod, but I think I pencil whipped him a few times. We were on the dry erase board when he was coaching for me. But yeah, man, he like I said, he's forgotten more than I ever knew. So I'll give him a nod to all that.
Okay, so I got the last 2 questions. The first one is, why do you love your job? Why do you love doing what you do?
Man, I try to. First of all, you got to love what you do, you got to love who you work with. And I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love coming to work. Our administrative team up here is special. The front office staff is special. Our custodians are special. Our coaching staff and our teachers and our kids are special. And, I love just trying to make those relationships and let the kiddos here know that we care about them and we're going to do whatever we can for them. And I'll be honest, I mean, we're working long hours this summer, and you put in so many long nights during the school year, but I mean, it's worth it. I mean, it's just fun.
Okay, so the last question is: you came on this podcast. What person do you want to see come on this podcast with your help?
I'd like for you to get Jasper Jewell. He's the director of athletics in Atlanta Public School. He's a good friend of mine. He's the past president of the Georgia Athletic Directors Association, and he and I have had a pretty special relationship for a while now. But Jasper's awesome.
Okay, I need your help with that one.
The only problem is now he's a Florida fan, and we can't have no Florida stuff on this show.
You got it. I'll make sure the dog's gonna keep barking on that one.
That's right.
Tell
him 2008 was a long time ago.
Well, do you have any last final words?
I don't. I appreciate you putting this together, and if there's any coaches or people that want to be coaches that listen, or athletic directors, man, I just always ask questions. Always try to get involved. When I was at Georgia Southern, my last year I was a community coach at Southeast Bullitt, and I want to go ahead and start getting that experience. And especially when you're a young coach, you volunteer to do it all. Get as many experiences as you can, because that's going to make you more valuable, when you do apply for jobs or you're at a school and they need somebody. And, I just try to take on as much as you can and be a sponge and absorb it.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, thank you for coming on. I know you're a very, very busy man with assistant principal duties and athletic director duties. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. It meant a lot for me.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm proud of you, and keep doing your thing.
Thank you. This is your host, Jonathan Hooker from the Sports Dan Podcast, signing out. See you guys.